Banter. You've probably heard of this word before. British people say it a lot, but what actually is banter? Why do British people seem to insult each other the more friendly they are with each other? And in this lesson, you'll learn what banter really means in British culture, how to understand it, how to respond to it, and even use it naturally. Welcome to the English Right Now podcast. My name is British English teacher Roy, and joining me is my dear friend Rob. Hello.
Hello. All right. How are we doing? Going a bit cockney, aren't we?
You did, didn't you? Somebody asked the other day, what is your accent? I'm going to say Michael Caine.
No, not a lot of people know that. Right. Okay.
You're only supposed to blow bloody doors off. But
hello.
Probably nobody got that reference, but there you go. So in this lesson, we're talking about banter, and we're going to teach at least 10 real expressions along the way because this is a real conversation. But banter. Let's start off with the all-important question. Was banter a thing in the Victorian era when you were a boy?
I think banter has always been around. Maybe it wasn't called banter in my day, but I suppose you could. It's a sort of form of small talk. It just oils the conversation, doesn't it? A little bit of banter, a little bit of teasing. It involves a little bit of teasing, but
yes, it does.
It's all good-natured. It's not offensive.
No, it's not. And we're going to talk about that. But that comment there, okay, so you're obviously not from the Victorian era. The Victorian era is like, 1830s to 1901. It's a few years before both of our times. And to be honest, it's sort of making a joke at your age. Now, there's a bit of a pretext here because obviously we've known each other for quite some time. If a random person came up to you in a shop and said, "All right, old man, how was life in the Victorian era?" Are you going to enjoy that?
No, I'd be quite offended, I think. If it's fun, isn't it funny? But if a stranger said something rude to you, you assume it's rude and they're just being rude. But if you know the person like we do, then that's when you can have your banter and you know it's all a bit of a good-humoured, joking, you know.
Yeah, and I think there's a reason. So we say get away with something. That's a good bit of vocabulary. To get away with something or get away with doing something or saying something. It means to avoid any negative repercussions. So I can get away with making a joke like that. But somebody you don't know can't. And that's the kind of spirit of banter. So banter is this kind of playful back and forth of jokes, conversation, teasing. Sometimes it can be quite savage. So for example, the comment that I made about the age thing, for somebody that could be deeply offensive. But banter, and it can be a verb or a noun. We commonly use it as a noun, really. Good banter, things like this. There's a pretext there because I know what level I can push. I think that's the whole thing, isn't it? I think there has to be.
Do you know how far to go? Yeah.
Do you know the limits? But this is the thing, isn't it? Because we've known each other for quite some years, and I often think that the banter is a kind of product of familiarity, comfort, and friendship. And I think the more you know each other, the more you know you're not going to offend each other, the more you understand each other, what's funny, the more banter can come into it. And if if somebody randomly made a joke about me, then I would probably take offense as well, because I don't know if that person knows my limits, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, with a stranger, you can perhaps make the conversation more informal by having a bit of banter. But again, you don't know how far to go with that person because you don't know them very well. But maybe you could have a little joke about, something they were wearing. You might say, "Oh, I see you've been, I don't know, to the charity shop or something like that," with a smile. With a smile.
Yeah, I mean, that could be dangerous, though.
Yes,
because you might offend somebody. I've just bought this. Does it look old? This kind of thing. So I think possibly you can. This idea of banter is very much between the two people. It's it's taking the mickey. That's a good bit of slang. To take the mickey means to joke at somebody else's expense, to take the mick out of somebody or take the mickey out of somebody else. So when I sort of joked about the age, or you maybe make a comment about your beard, a bird could live in that beard. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take that joke in the spirit it's intended. But if you don't know that person, it's probably safer to joke observationally around about the situation you're in or the world. Like, oh, terrible weather today. Great for ducks or something like this. Something quite light-hearted that doesn't involve potentially attacking the other person.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't be too personal. You're right with a stranger. You're right. The more you know somebody, the more personal you can get, because you understand. You know how how much they can take, basically. Yeah.
Small talk is something we've talked about before. Small talk is like this kind of, for a lot of students, meaningless chat. But for us, I think it's a kind of gateway. It's testing the waters of that person. So if we're sort of joking about the weather and, oh, have you seen that new TV show? Load of rubbish. This kind of thing. We're having this kind of very, what seems like a frivolous conversation. You get to know that person, and if they can engage in small talk, they become like a safer option, and that's when you can start to bring banter in, I think.
Yeah. Yes. Banter is very personal stuff, isn't it? So I could say, again, because I know you quite well, looking a bit hairy there, Roy, maybe looking a bit like a Yeti, in fact.
Well, I was considering going to live in the mountains at some point, but yeah.
Don't cry, don't cry, will you? Don't cry. All right.
No, I wouldn't cry. But strange enough, I did a live class recently, and the first thing somebody said is, "You need a haircut," and my instinct was, "Hell are you? Who are you to say that to me?" But you, fine. I can absolutely, I can enjoy that. And you need to know that person's levels. And I think, the only thing I wouldn't joke about is the fact, one of your legs is longer than the other considerably. Of course, that's a joke because it's not the case. But we can get away with that. And that's banter, isn't it? It's all in the spirit. And I think...
Yeah, I mean, luckily it's because I'm quite thick-skinned.
Thick-skinned? What does that mean? That's a great expression.
I'm not offended easily. If I've got thick skin, I'm tough.
Resilient.
Resilient. I can take a joke, basically. A joke is another expression, isn't it? I can take it. Yeah.
Take it. I can take it. I can take the humor. I can take the banter and these kind of things. But sometimes we do need to say that sometimes people will cross the line. And cross the line is when you go too far. Usually, how would you say to somebody that they've gone too far?
That's probably the expression I would use. I think you've gone too far, or okay, that's enough joking now, that sort of thing. Or I mean, if somebody does cross the line and say something that's really personal, you may have to say, I think you've gone a bit too far. That's not appropriate, or that's a little bit sensitive, if you don't mind. It sort of kills the atmosphere. Kind of I
know. and usually you can see with the hands, like they go, oh, all right, calm down, mate, calm down. There's some kind of like, almost resistance to it. But for what's really weird, have you been to the United States?
Yeah.
Okay. So I went there with a British friend, good friend, and a lot of the Americans, they obviously socialize in very different ways, with different cultures. And our banter for them can seem quite aggressive. And I remember I went with my friend, we had really good banter. And we'd tease each other, we'd maybe wind each other up, which means kind of annoy each other deliberately, kind of irritate each other, but also make jokes and be quite strong. Some of the words we used, and I remember some Americans saying, "Do you two hate each other?" And we're like, "No, we're great friends," because it's a different form of socializing. And I think
it's quite interesting if you're on the train or something and you listen in or you eavesdrop on somebody's conversation, having banter. Initially, you might think they're having an argument, or they really don't like each other. But then if you tune into it, you realize it's all a bit joking, and they're having a laugh, and they're having banter.
Have a laugh is a great expression as well. To have a laugh is to joke. Is another way of saying that thing. And it can sound. I think it can sound quite. It can sound almost like abusive, externally aggressive. But strange enough, if an English person or a British person starts to make teasing remarks, but with a smile, or maybe uses some kind of terms of mild insults, that's when you start to feel like you're being included. So you go through that small talk stage, and suddenly they might go, "Yeah, great, wazzock." Obviously,
Mm.
wazzock kind of means idiot, but it's not the worst word in the world. Pillock, plonker. That's of course a
Yeah.
Only Fools and Horses reference. Start to creep those in, or start to go, bloody hell, you're bloody useless. Let me do it.
Mm.
But with a smile, with a kind of gentleness to it, then you know you're being included, and that's how
Mm.
to gauge. I mean, you can't listen to the words so much as understand the action. There's a big difference between "you're an idiot, Rob" and "you idiot."
Mm.
I find it personally. I find the word "idiot" a bit strong, but there's a difference. My wife's friend always calls her a donut.
That's
My wife's
quite a
friend,
nice
"You
compliment.
donut."
That's a compliment, isn't it?
Is that sweet
I
and with a
like
hole in the
donut.
middle? I don't know.
I like donuts. They're sweet. They're sweet and soft, but
But I think donut is one of these kind of ways of saying plonker, fool.
yeah, yeah. You
And
donkey.
it's
That's another one I've heard. You donkey.
oh yeah, and
Yeah.
it's kind of we there are certain things like, for example, there are certain friends of mine that I wouldn't make a like a banter or a joke. I wouldn't joke about their weight. Others I
Mm.
could.
Yeah.
And there's certain ones if I know they're sensitive about it. It's about knowing the person. It's a level of intimacy and trust, isn't it? I went out with
Mm.
a friend this morning for breakfast, and he is really, really no holds. He doesn't hold back.
Right.
He doesn't hold back with his comments. He happily attacks. But I know it's out of love. Weird,
Mm-hmm.
isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And if other
How
people listen in and hear this going on, you can explain that you're just messing. You're just messing
just
around.
messing
Or,
around.
yeah.
Yeah, not being serious. And I think sometimes, I would say banter is funny if both people get it. And if you're
Mm.
particularly good at banter, we sometimes say, "Oh, he's the Bantosaurus Rex," or "He's the Archbishop of Banterbury," or "Great Bants," and things like this. But we admire it, but it's only funny if both people get it. Otherwise, it feels
Mm.
feels wrong. If I make a joke about, the Victorian era, go back to that, and then suddenly say, you seem to push back, and I realize that I've crossed the line, I might say something like, "Oh, sorry, mate, I didn't mean it." Which
Mm.
means, again, it's just a joke. It wasn't intended, or it's just a joke, which is a way of highlighting it was meant to be humorous.
Mm.
Um, and I may think that you're being overly sensitive, and I'll say, mate, don't take it personally. That means to accept the joke. It's kind of to not accept the joke in the way it was intended. And
Yeah.
I think that I think that this is it's an interesting thing. But if I push it too far, I will apologize. And then
Mm.
I'll
I hope
know
so.
not to do it again in the future.
Mm. Because I think if you were just throwing insults at me, it was all very one way. Then that's just kind of bullying, isn't it? Verbal bullying.
Yeah,
You're just taking a go at somebody and you're beating them down. So obviously, you need to know where that line is, and obviously, you need to know
yeah.
the person. That's the most important thing, really.
I think British friendship goes through stages. I think first of all you get the small talk, then you get a bit more small talk with a little bit more depth and a little bit more personal element. Then you get minor joking, maybe observationally around the world, the environment, and then occasionally you start to creep in with banter, and it's constantly testing the waters to see how cool the other person is.
Mm. Now, here's an interesting thing, Roy. Is it more of a male thing? Do women banter
Women
in the
women
same
definitely
way?
banter. Women definitely do banter. But I would say there's a lot more. Oh, this is what would you say? Go on, you you can put your foot in
No,
it.
no. It's just a one for discussing, really. I mean, I guess if you hear men banter, they are a bit more aggressive with each other. I think
Yeah.
that's my observation, and I think yes, women banter and they tease each other, but maybe not to such extreme. You know.
Yeah. I think there's the banter is definitely different between men and women. You're right. There are certain things like I would never banter with probably I would banter with a male about weight, but maybe not about weight physical things as well
Mm.
I think, but also I think it's fear of offending the other person, isn't it? We don't know their
Yeah.
limits, and maybe that doesn't matter whether male or female, they can give as good as they get, which means to basically reciprocate on that same level. So, okay, we've understood what banter means. Banter actually signifies, in my opinion, friendship. And there's a whole other lesson we can teach about when British people don't like you because they become more polite. I often find British people get really formal when they don't trust you. Either they don't know you or they don't like you. They're more like, oh, okay, Rob, thank you very much for your kind work today. I feel that if I started treating you like that, if I started being overly polite to you, you'd worry what was wrong.
Yeah.
How weird is that?
I know.
But for example, your wife or my wife, we I might be more respectful, not because I don't like them or because you don't like, my wife. It's because you're not as comfortable and intimate on that level, so you're still testing the waters.
Yeah,
it's so weird, isn't it? That when you start to analyze, the closer we are, the worse we are to each other.
Yeah, I know.
But it's not only exclusively social, is it? We can also see or hear banter in the workplace.
Yes. I mean, banter in the workplace makes work more bearable, more fun. If you have work colleagues you can have a joke with, either teasing each other about, oh, I see you haven't learned how to type, or I see that you need someone to tidy up after you, or whatever it is. Or you can have a joke about the situation you're in as well at work. So that makes it more fun, I think, to have a bit of office banter.
Yeah, I think the only danger in terms of that is you can get sucked into this idea of misery loves company, which is that sort of proverb. The idea that if one person is miserable and they start like, oh, another day at work, another day, another £1.50, these kind of things. If they've got a negative kind of atmosphere, you can kind of get sucked into that. So you should always be very careful about the banter. But there's an interesting thing that we should mention as well, because obviously the workplace, the kind of social life, everyday life contains banter, every element, and I think it makes it, like you say, more fun. We often say all in good fun, which means it's all joking and all fun, these sort of things. But we need to sort of say, and this could be a podcast all of its own, but irony and sarcasm. Irony is kind of joking about the opposite of what's true for humorous effect, whereas sarcasm is a more directed attack, often using the opposite of what is true. So there's a fine line between, sort of saying, oh, what a fantastic day. It's raining again. Well, I suppose I don't know. I don't have to get wet by sitting here all day. This kind of thing. But then, sarcasm does creep into banter, but that is another level of aggression, I think. So maybe, those people you're talking about typing, there's always those people that, you sort of you start to use sarcastic comments going, oh, you've not learned how to type yet. Or somebody, these people that tap too hard and they make a lot of noise. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Well, the actual act of that is very annoying, I think.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody in terms of banter, sarcasm, who was like tapping the keys too loudly?
Is your keyboard not working? Or have you got very heavy hands today? Or
see, that's quite funny. That's quite funny. And that's another level of banter. I'd say that's like banter 2.0, where you've gone through the initial phases of joking, gentle teasing, and you get to sarcasm when you can directly attack each other. And often sarcasm uses a dry sense of humor, so it doesn't sound as much as we're joking. We're sometimes like, is your, do you want to make any more noise?
Yeah. Or you could be sort of passive aggressive and go, I'm sure I can hear something. Is that a noise I can hear somewhere?
And that's really, but that's also, I mean, that there's a fine line between if they're in the circle, like, so if we're sitting together and a third person who's not really in our sort of circle is making so much noise, and you say that, and I laugh, it's possibly not banter. That's more passive aggressive sarcasm. And it's kind of an invitation, but at the same time, it could be an in-joke between me and you, which is a bit excluding someone there. But so we've talked about what it is and how to understand it. These kind of teasing remarks, dry sense of humor. give as good as you get, this kind of thing. How do you respond to it?
Well,
how would you respond?
You give as good as you get, really, in that you try and come back with another insult, don't you?
Yes.
You kind
Yeah,
of
I think
return the insult.
yes. Yeah, but on the same level. I wouldn't like
On the
ramp
same
it
level.
up.
Yeah,
Like,
you don't go
don't take
one higher. It's not a sort of battle of who can be the rudest to each other or anything like that. No, you just kind of give a similar kind of comment back.
this war of one-upmanship, So banter is designed to create connection, not to destroy friendships. And I think that's definitely something there. And I think, yeah, and using it naturally. We talked about using it naturally. How could we help students to use it naturally? How would you encourage somebody from another country, culture to start engaging in banter? What would be your baby steps?
Baby steps. Well, I mean, give it a go for a start. Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Try and say something. Yeah. So again, it depends who you know. You're not going to just come to this country and start having banter with strangers on the street. But if it's a colleague, or maybe if you're friendly with other students in your class, that sort of thing, then if you know something you can tease them about that they're not going to be offended about, then start with that. Don't go in criticizing maybe their look or or you're fat, that sort of stuff. But I don't know if they're struggling with their verbs. I don't know. You could make a little joke about that or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's possibly safer to joke about something externally. First of all, I would say. So first of all, show your sense of humor. I mean, if it's people from other cultures as well, it's going to be different. But if it's a British person, maybe first of all start off with that small talk, and during the small talk, add a couple of puns, maybe a couple of humorous remarks. So if it's raining very heavily, you could say something like, "Oh, goodness me, I think I actually saw a fish swimming down the street." Just to show that you are playful.
Yes.
And if they
yes.
engage back, go, "Oh, what type of fish was it? Was it?" But if they're like, "Yeah, okay," dismissive, that's not going to work. But if they engage back, then it starts to, And I think self-deprecation is a key.
I was just going to say that one way to start is perhaps start making fun of yourself, to show that you can make fun of yourself and you're not, serious and precious about yourself. And if you can make fun of your own characteristics, then other people might do the same, or know that they can have a joke with you then, because you don't take yourself too seriously.
Like I said, I went to breakfast with my friend, and he bought some jam of all things, because we went to this kind of farm cafe. When you come to visit me on the Isle of Wight, I will take you to this place. You're going to love it. It's like a kind of sort of restaurant cafe thing attached to a farm shop. So it's all it all feels very fresh and very. And he bought some jam, and I didn't realize he was that precious about jam. I thought never imagined in all the years I've known that he would buy expensive jam. And I was like, did you just buy really expensive jam? And he was like, well, I don't have toast very often, but when I do, I like to have decent jam. And I think that's lovely. I think that's lovely. And I said to him, how delightfully middle class and middle aged of you. But obviously, I've made jokes about myself in the past when I've made a comment like, oh no, I'd never buy cheap bread. And I go, God, I'm so middle aged. These kind of things. It's like little things. So I will attack myself for him to know, or you to know, that I'm willing to make a joke of my own expense as well. And therefore, and that's the key, isn't it?
It was like, if I forget something, in my mind, I can't remember. I go, oh, I'm having a senior moment, as in a sort of a moment in being very old, and that then that even I know that I'm old and I can make fun of myself being old.
Yeah.
Therefore, you can probably have a go as well.
I mean, I think, like, for example, you make several comments and jokes and self-deprecating remarks about your age. You also know that I realize that my beard is wild today and that I do need a haircut. So I've opened the doors for you to make jokes as well. But certain things that you haven't joked about or haven't made comments about, I might think, well, he might be a bit sensitive about that, and I don't want to offend you. And this is the thing. So I would say, as a summary, how to understand it. If it's got a smile, if it's gentle teasing, if it's joking, and if it's, sort of not intended to offend, that's how to understand that banter is that. Usually, British offense is quite discreet. It's quiet, isn't it? Rather than go, "You're an idiot," I'll wait till you leave the room and go, "Idiot, that guy's an idiot." That's offense. That's aggression. So how to understand it? That's how to understand it. Respond to it. Try and give as good as you get, but don't. It's not a one-upmanship thing, and use it naturally. Just start off gradually. Start off, and if you don't enjoy it, let the British person know. Let them know. Go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't find that funny," or "Mate, could you? I'm a bit sensitive about that." Make it about you. So if you make a joke about my, I don't know, whatever you want to make a joke about, and I don't find it funny, I go, "Oh mate, please come on." I'll just kind of, I won't take it personally because I'll know the first. But if you do it again, I might start to get upset.
Yeah, I'd also say look for visual clues. You can see when somebody's getting upset or they don't find it funny. And the other tip I had for students actually is if you want to learn how to do banter, is probably watch some of our comedy British comedy shows.
Yeah,
there's a lot of banter going. You can observe it then and see what goes on.
Yeah. Strange enough, we've been quite serious during this episode about banter, haven't we? I mean, that's the ironic thing, isn't it? Because we're doing this thing. But yeah, comedy shows. Which ones would you recommend?
Any kind of situation comedy where they're having a little tease with each other. I mean, Only Fools and Horses was a good one.
Oh yeah,
there's lots of teasing and sarcasm and stuff like that as well. It's all very subtle. There's a classic for you.
Spaced is a good one.
Yeah,
Blackadder maybe goes a bit too far. I think it's a bit too biting.
Yes,
I love Blackadder.
Yeah,
yeah,
but they are very rude to each other. That's more than banter.
Blackadder is probably a bit. He bullies Baldrick a bit.
Well, I suppose. I mean, sorry, we're going a bit deep here, but in that comedy, there's a hierarchy, isn't there? The characters are a hierarchy. They're not mates having a chat because there's somebody, whether it's a royal or somebody at a higher level, is making fun of the servant. So there's kind of different levels there.
But yeah, I think there's not meant to be a hierarchy in banter. It's meant to be inclusive. It's meant to make stronger friendships and things like this. And another way to learn banter, obviously, is through the English Right Now podcast with us.
Of course.
You can listen to our conversations as we teach you English along the way. So if you want to support this podcast, you can check out a link. You can buy us a cup of tea. There is a link in the description below. But to you, Rob, I just want to say thank you for being so wonderful. Hey, I'm not even joking this time. Yeah, you see, you cannot take a real compliment. If I get really serious, well, I just want to say it was an absolute pleasure. I've enjoyed working with you. You're going to be like, what's going on? But it was a pleasure speaking with you today. And thank you very much to everyone who's listened to us as well.
It's time you went to the barbers now, I think, Roy.
Only if you're paying. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
See you, everyone. Bye.